Greetings, everyone. Welcome to COS Today. Dale Parrish, your host, along with Mr. Ken Kashuba.
Hello, Dale.
How you doing, Ken?
Doing just fine on this April day.
Yeah. Oh, folks, don't worry. We should be all completed with our broadcast in time for you to watch the game tonight if you're a basketball fan. So just so everyone knows, okay. But here, COS Today, saving the country with Convention Estates. That's our motto. That's what we're trying to do here with Convention Estates. And I'll tell you, it is becoming more and more evident to me that we need to call a Convention Estates to get through some of these issues that this country's facing, or this country's not facing. Kim, I want to do something here. We have not been showing this very much here in recent weeks, but this is our 342nd broadcast, and it's kind of a moment. I wanted to recognize you because you've been on board now for 200.
Wow.
Did you know you were at 200?
No, I knew we were getting close. And I don't know. Will I hit 250 by the time we celebrate 250 here?
You might, right? But I wanted to recognize that kind of a momentous level to reach 200.
It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, been a fun ride, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done on those 200 broadcasts. Believe me.
Well, anything to get the word out and get people knowledged up about what we're trying to do here. That's the purpose.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
I hope we're together for another 200 of these broadcasts. So anyway, I just wanted to give you some recognition on that.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah.
Let's let our buddy Maringo Mike give everybody a little reminder here, and then we'll get started in our first segment, okay?
Please be sure and hit the like and subscribe buttons along with the notifications bell so you'll always know when we go live. We appreciate your support and hope you'll join us on our mission to use the Constitution to save the Constitution. Now, back to the program.
Yeah, Maringo Mike, he always knows what to say, doesn't he? Well, Ken, let's get right into our first segment. This is the segment we call the In Focus segment. Been doing this for some time now, and I had been getting some very good response from our viewers on this segment. And it's we bring on 2 or 3 guests, and we just talk about what's on our mind, what's caught our attention, what's got our focus here recently in the world that's going on. So it's always very interesting. So let's bring on our guests this evening, Ken. Yeah. And the first one is Mr. Tim Heidenreich. Hi, Tim.
Hello, folks.
Tim is our prayer coordinator for the state of Indiana, Convention Estates. So Tim does a great job for us. So welcome aboard, Ken. Thanks for coming on tonight, Tim. And next is a young lady, Cheryl Schoppmeyer, our region captain, down kind of, are you kind of in the
southwest? Yeah.
Southwest part of the state?
Yeah.
So Cheryl is, like I said, a region captain here in Indiana. And we're going to bring on a gentleman here from out west, Mr. Frank Vaughn, who is the state director for Convention Estates in Colorado.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Glad to have you aboard, Frank. Thanks for coming on tonight.
You're back again.
Well, as we always say, every time we see Frank, there's just nothing going on in Colorado. Everything's very calm, and which
Nothing good, that's for sure.
nothing good. Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, so glad you could join us tonight, Frank. I tell you, Cheryl, I'm going to let you lead off tonight. Tell us what's got your focus here recently.
Well, I've just been hearing a lot about Sharia law and the Muslims taking over our country. Essentially, they have invaded our government. They are invading our country on a mass scale. And I just don't think we're paying enough attention. And if we're not careful, we're going to lose our country, and it's going to be destroyed from within. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. We were chatting about this before we came on live tonight, but we did a presentation on this on our last broadcast on March 30th, and I agree with Cheryl. I think it's I am hearing more and more about it, but it's not enough. Not enough.
No,
I think
it's not. I think there's so many distractions. There's so many things going off at the same time, and I think that's done on purpose. A lot of it is on purpose so that we're not focused on what really is hurting us.
Yeah.
So we just really have to be more vigilant.
And I think there's a blueprint in Europe that we should pay attention to. I mean,
Yes.
we can see what's happened there in Europe, and some of them are waking up a little bit, but they're trying to get that straightened out. And I don't know how successful they're going to be.
Well, they are the Muslim community. I mean, I should say the religion, really, because it is a religion. It's whatever you worship is religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are not in favor of a lot of the things that the left is promoting, like, homosexuality, transgenderism, all those things that the progressive left is pushing. They are not in favor of. But I also believe that they are allowed to lie to us and be friends with us until such time as, they're ready to rise up and take over. And I mean, I don't like to be sound like an alarmist or anything, but that could conceivably happen, and it has happened, like you said, in Europe. I know that the London elected a Muslim mayor, and I think they're kind of regretting that now. I have some friends over in England, and they see what's going on, but it's already happened. And it's really hard to get something out rather than keep something out.
Well, and we just did it. We just did it in New York City.
Yes, we did. Well, I didn't, but
no,
I would have never voted for that.
But I have to wonder how much of that decision that they made in England not to let our planes land over there is due to the Muslim population being a huge voting bloc.
I would not be surprised, because they have taken over the Labor Party. I think has lost. I think that's what I read. Has lost a lot of Muslim support, and they're able to get things through that normally wouldn't have. So it's kind of scary, actually.
No, I think you're right. And we're seeing like down in Texas where they're trying to build these communities. And
didn't they pass a law though to ban Sharia law? It seems like Rick Green was talking about that.
They proposed it. I don't think it got passed.
I thought it did.
Talked about. Yeah, it's at least proposed.
Yeah, and I hope we do that. Really, I mean, we shouldn't have to, and that's the key. These people are coming in not to assimilate. And I heard this statement again today. If you're not coming in or immigrating into the United States and plan to assimilate, then you're invading our country. It's an invasion. It's not immigration.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I saw an interview of a guy in New York City, a major financial guru, maybe you want to call him, Somebody who basically born and raised in New York, has made a lot of money. He's a finance, he's one of the 1%ers there that they want to, that they're driving out. He said that within 8 months, he believes Macy's department stores will be gone in New York City.
I saw that video. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Amazing,
would not be
amazing video.
surprised.
Yeah. I mean, just the things he talked about, and he was hitting everything on the head.
Yeah.
That he foresees coming within the next 8 to 12 months in New York City. It's pretty.
You
pretty daunting.
mean them leaving their headquarters, leaving the city, or shutting the business down?
I think first of all, I think it was shutting Macy's down, I believe, in New York City.
That's what I heard.
I'm not sure where they're headquartered, to be honest. But
He was talking about they'll be closed because of the shoplifting.
shoplifting.
Yes.
Wasn't that the article you guys saw?
Yeah.
I saw a video. I
There's
saw
a
a video
video.
of the guy talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's
So
what he
much
said.
stuff going
Shoplifting.
on in Macy's that it's breaking them, is what he said.
Yeah.
Well, when you get caught shoplifting and there's no consequence, what do you think is going to happen? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
I think he threw out and I won't have the exact number, but I know he threw out a number that it cost them every year, and it was in the billions.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But he was also talking in there about how Wall Street's building a second Wall Street, if you will, in Texas.
Yep.
And
Texas
how
and
that's
Florida.
going to become the biggest Wall Street, and the one in New York will be a smaller one, and if
Yeah.
it stays there. Yeah. That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Driving everything out. They're driving everything out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Wow.
Well, you got a lot out of that, Cheryl. You got a lot out of that question about Muslims.
And we didn't even talk about the fraud. from, like,
Oh
the
no,
Somali
no, we
community.
didn't.
You know,
I
it's crazy.
want to know when there's going to be some arrests. I mean, this has just been going on too long.
I think that's President Trump's frustration with Pam Bondi and why that all went down. So
Yeah, I think you're right, Frank. I think you're right.
I'm with you. I want to see somebody in handcuffs as well.
I do.
Yeah.
What I saw the U.S. attorney in Los Angeles on one of the news programs the other night, and he said there's very soon going to be a lot of people going to court over that. He says we've made the arrest, but we haven't got it into court yet. So there's going to be, hopefully, there's going to be a lot of it in Los Angeles pretty soon. And if you can do it in California, then you ought to be able to do it all over the place.
Well, that worries me a little bit, Tim. If it goes to court, the way our courts have been lately, I'm a little worried about that. You know?
Me too. Yeah, but I mean, what else can we do? We got to get them into court. We can't just shoot them.
Yeah. Well.
Not in this country.
All right. Let's move on. Frank, what's on your mind, bud?
You know, the Artemis 2 mission. I ran across the live launch by accident, and I watched that, and that is a big rocket.
Yeah.
And it got me to thinking, you know, about the Apollo missions, and they were talking about, you know, circling the moon, and of course, you know, Apollo 13, we all know it circled the moon to get home, but it's fascinating that that the Artemis mission is going to be the furthest out than the Apollo mission, and it's going to hold the record. Matter of fact, 7:00 tonight, while on your show, they're going to be doing the lunar flyby, and that's going to be the furthest point that we've ever had astronauts in space. Which, if you think about it, that's just incredible. But what encouraged me was I started seeing all the pictures coming back from the Orion capsule, and just the level of technology now from the Apollo mission, just, digital photography, for example. These pictures that are coming back are just absolutely incredible. And what we're going to learn is just fascinating for a future trip to Mars. So I just thought, just on that face, it's just very interesting.
I think Dale was even trying to get them a live interview with them tonight, but he just wasn't able to do it.
Well, that'd make a good show, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that would. I can't help it, but pay attention, of course, some of the old stories about, was the original moon mission, was that real? Did that really happen? Or was that all staged?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to listen to some of those now. But you think
I'd be curious on that, if with these guys going around, with Artemis going around this time, whether they could actually get a picture of the flag that was supposed to be planted.
Ah, interesting.
that's what someone else said that too. One of the newscasters that I watched, he says, I want them to send a picture back of the flag.
Yeah.
There's part of that spaceship, I think, still there, that they landed on the moon with, and of course that would prove that they really did go to the moon, that wasn't a staged event. But
Well,
somebody's going to say they staged the picture of the flag too, so you can't win that.
well, even the lunar vehicle that they rode around in, those tracks would still be there today.
That's true too.
you think it would they be there?
Yep.
I guess Tim, you got a point though. With AI being what it is, we would never know.
Yeah,
That's
now
right,
you
we
don't
wouldn't.
know what's true anymore.
That's true.
I'm amazed how there's some ad that I keep seeing on social media where they take an old photograph, it's an old sepia photograph, and they say, make this come to life with AI. And the people just get up and walk out of the photograph.
Yep.
I do not know what to think about that.
That's amazing, isn't it? You have to admit,
Did
that's
they
amazing.
fake the sepia photograph or are they faking the other side of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Sounds like another whole show to me.
We could do it from space.
Yeah.
But now why you say, Frank, that this why aren't they going to the moon? Why aren't now? Is there? Am I right? Another mission will be coming where they will be going to the moon. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. This was simply just to test the rocket itself with the physical astronauts in it, and they're also doing a lot of testing for the actual mission to go to Mars. How much radiation are they absorbing? If you notice and you go watch their live feeds, you see them exercising constantly. They rotate onto this exercising device to keep their muscles strong, and that would be a big issue with your muscles deteriorating in space over time. So there's a lot of interesting things going on, and some testing that they're doing to get their feet wet, and then they're going to go back and land on the moon again, and then we'll see if that flag is there.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point, Frank, too. If this is kind of a prelude to finally shooting to Mars, that's a 9-month journey. I mean, could you imagine what they have to go through to travel 9 months to get there, and all that goes on, and the way it looks, the toilets don't work for sure. So
Exactly. I figured somebody was going to bring that up.
I heard that that was something that came out early on in this mission. What was wrong with the toilets? Did they ever determine what was wrong with them?
I don't think they have determined yet.
Oh, really?
I thought they said that one of the guys fixed it, but then it was smelling of smoke or something. It was a little worrisome.
Yeah, burning smell or something like that. I watched the deal. It was on, I think it was last night, and they were talking about the odor was concerning to them, but then the folks on the ground here said there's nothing to worry about. It's easy for them to say.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, you can't just call Roto-Rooter when you're out there, can you?
But then there was a fascinating thing where they actually dump water overboard, wastewater, and it was just the images that they were able to capture of that dump happening, because they do some type of a process where they filtrate it, and then they dump it overboard, and it was just incredible to watch. But the whole digital photography thing is just amazing to me right now. You know, the advancements that we've made.
I feel like we've gone from Lost in Space back in the 60s, all the way up to now. You know, we're Star Wars and beyond.
Yeah. I have not seen. I have not watched any broadcast or any news about this, quite honestly.
So just jump on the Googler and just Google Artemis 2 mission, and there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube that you can watch.
All
and
right.
like right now, they're in a communication blackout because they're on the backside of the moon. So they'll finish that by 9:30 p.m. tonight, and then they'll be heading back towards Earth. So
Wow.
Incredible.
I wonder by the next time they go up for that second mission, will Elon Musk have put up cell towers up there?
I was just gonna say, you know, leave it to Elon. He'll have Skylink up there so they can communicate all the way around.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good question. Do you think there's any of the technology that the Musk organization has created? Is that any of that technology being incorporated in this? What with NASA?
Yeah. My knowledge is that he's working very closely with them on a couple of the different events that are actually going to get us towards the Mars event.
Well,
the first step is populating Earth or the moon, because that's going to be a stepping stone to get to Mars.
The one thing that caught my attention was early on. I'm not knowledgeable of this, quite honestly, but I guess one of the rockets, you know, with the Musk organization, is that Starlink? Is that what it's called?
That's one of his companies, yes.
Well, anyway, whoever does the space travel with Musk, they have the technology where they can bring that rocket back to the Earth.
Yeah.
Yep.
NASA can't do that. It's my understanding.
No. Hey, and he actually catches the rocket in a gantry. It comes back to it's incredible.
It's
Absolutely
incredible to see that happening. And I'm thinking, well, why can't NASA adopt that technology? Apparently they can't. Because I heard the announcers say that rocket would be dumped in the ocean.
Yeah,
like
the boosters
always has been.
Yeah, the boosters fell into the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. That is amazing to see that rocket return back to the and land where it's supposed to land. That's amazing to watch.
Yep.
It is. All right.
That just tells you private sector.
Right?
Yeah.
Turn it over to the private sector. Don't let the government mess around with it.
Right.
There you go.
The toilets would work if Elon Musk was involved with it.
Good point. So that does fit into one of our pillars in restricting government overreach. We need to get them out of our toilets, really.
That's true.
Well, see if they would send the new DHS secretary up on the next one. He was a plumber in real life. He could fix that. See, they wouldn't have any problem.
Oh my!
All right, Tim, what's on your mind, bud?
Well, I think the last few days, the whole country has been fixated on this pilot, this weapons officer, who was down in Iran, and we were trying to get him back before the bad guys got a hold of him. I just felt like there was a tension across the United States the whole time. It's kind of like looking for that lady's mother out in Arizona. Everybody was thinking about that news story for weeks till that died off. And now we've all been thinking about this special weapons officer. But what struck me was there's two items. One is they sent several hundred special forces people on the ground to find this guy. That is extremely unique. The last time I heard of that many or a large number of special forces guys going in at once was when they raided the Sante prison camp in North Vietnam. And that was I think that was in 72. It was either 71 or 72 when they took 2 loads of Rangers in to try to get those POWs out. And the POWs had moved the day before, been taken to a different prison camp. So it was a wasted mission. So in this case, when they put several hundred on the ground, it just surprised me. You know, normally I could see them sending 10 or 15, but if they're
Wait a
sending
minute.
hundreds,
So we
that's
got
really-
boots. We've got boots on the ground there. Boots
well,
on the
they
ground.
were on the ground looking for this guy. I think once they found him and got him, they took him back off the ground. I don't think they're still there.
Did
It's
they?
just that the number was surprising to me. So that was the first item I was thinking about. The second item is this is this Easter weekend. And let's talk about what happened in this case. Thursday night, these 2 guys are flying over there and they get shot down. So Thursday night, he goes out of commission. He winds up hiding behind a big rock in some kind of a crevice. And then on about 48 hours later, Saturday night, they find him. So he shows up again on Sunday morning, comes back into our vision. We can see him again on Sunday morning. Isn't that a pretty good coincidence for Easter weekend?
Yeah.
Plus, I understand he actually had to elevate 7,000 feet to get up to that rock.
Yeah. And the message that he sent back with his encryption device to let them know it was him is God is good. That's the message he sent. They realized who he was, which that kind of surprised me too. They thought the enemy might be sending a fake message. They weren't sure if that was him or not. But
You know,
an interesting message to send on Easter. All that wraps together. You know, they always say there's no coincidences. God's in everything, and I think that's right.
You know, I'll have to admit when I first heard on the news that this plane had been shot down and one of the pilots was rescued or parachuted to safety, but the other one they didn't know what happened with him. You know, my first thought was, I hope he's dead. I really, because I could just you could just see if they captured this guy and he was alive, I mean, they would be parading this man around and doing all sorts of things. It would have really been a terrible situation for us. But thank goodness.
He did exactly what he was trained. When they go down, they're supposed to get away from the wreck, get to high ground, call in, let them know where you are, and then stay there and hide. That's exactly what he did. So, perfect textbook survival, evasion, resist, and escape. Yeah.
But I understand he was actually injured pretty severely as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said Trump said today that he was losing blood, some significant blood, but I don't know how significant it could have been if he went 2 days. I mean, you can't lose a whole lot of blood over 2 days.
Right.
But, you know, when you're bleeding, that's a lot of blood. It doesn't matter how much it is.
I think some of it was a leg injury too. So it was amazing that he was even able to get up to an elevation 7,000 feet up. But I also thought it was amazing that the distraction that the CIA pulled off by getting the Iranians distracted in another area, to keep them out of there. That was pretty amazing. Just the whole thing. I think they said there'll be a movie in a year on this for sure. So
yeah, I'm sure there will. Well, you know, Gene Hackman made one about that a long time ago, getting shot down in Vietnam. So
yeah.
That's a good kind of movie to make. Yeah.
Have they released this guy's name or a picture of him or anything yet?
I saw one picture of him on the helicopter with the SEALs. He was holding an American flag inside the helicopter to get him out of there. I haven't seen his name or no identification of him. No.
Have they released the name of the pilot that safely escaped? I haven't seen.
I didn't even think about the pilot since he got saved. I was just worried about the other guy. I didn't pay any attention to that.
Yeah.
But
I think he was a colonel. Was what they said. I think he was a colonel. Yeah.
So he's been in the service 22, 24 years, something like that, to make colonel. So he's not a young guy.
Right.
No.
He might have been mid-40s. Yeah.
Wow.
But wasn't there simultaneous extractions going on because there was an A-10 that also went down.
Yeah.
That they got that pilot as well. That's incredible that they did 2 simultaneous extractions and were successful.
That one was that one
Well,
land,
those were
crashed in.
fake.
That one crashed in Saudi, didn't it? Somewhere, or
You know,
It wasn't-
I'm not sure.
I think the second one wasn't in Iran.
There was one for an A-10 Warthog that was in, it was Kuwait, I think it was.
Oh, Kuwait, you're right, Kuwait.
Flew back out of the country and crash landed in Kuwait, and they had to go get them, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes they'll put on a ruse extraction. If they don't want the enemy to know exactly where he is, they might send 2 or 3 helicopters and let him drop lines or something so that the enemy doesn't know which one's the real guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but I don't think that's what you're referring to, Frank.
Well, I'll tell you, our military is really doing some outstanding things here, aren't they?
And tomorrow morning, we may see a lot more interesting things if they drop all those bridges and power plants. But you know, Trump said this morning the deadline is 8 a.m. tomorrow. He said that when he was talking to the press outside the White House this morning. And then tonight, when I was watching the 6 o'clock news, they said it's 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
what I
what's
heard,
in
Tim. I heard it was PM. Yeah.
First, he gave them 7 days, then he extended it. Well, they wanted 7. He gave them 10. And now he's giving them maybe another half a day. I don't know. I'm confused by it, but I hope it happens pretty soon, frankly. I think the real solution to this, start the bombing, get the local citizens to rise up and capture them. Local citizens try them and hang them. That's what I think is the right thing to do.
I think that's the key. I think the key. That's the key. The key is getting the local people involved. Yeah. That's
You
good.
can't let them come back in 2 or 3 years and do this again.
That's right. That's right. That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate strategy. Is got to be the involvement of the Iranian people in their government. That's got to.
Suppose the Iranian government's getting a lot of applications now for the higher level jobs. A lot of people want to get those jobs now. Do you think?
I don't know.
They probably have a one ad out. We're looking for a new president for the country. We're looking for a new head of the IRGC. No applicants. How can that be? It's a good paying job.
No applicants. No applicants. I don't know.
I heard it's an internship, so
Temporary. It's a temporary job.
All right. All right. Thanks, Tim. Thanks. Ken, what's on your mind, bud? Anything different?
not really. It's all been covered tonight. Our guest panels have just done a wonderful job of picking my brain tonight. So.
Oh, they were
Glad
picking
we
your
could help.
brain.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we've covered, the two areas obviously that I had in my mind was the Artemis and of course the mission to save that pilot. But I think we all agree at this point that there's usually just so much out there that I usually have 5 or 6 things to go on. And tonight I was really just, both of those things kind of were uplifting if you really want to look at it that way. I mean, technology with the moon and where what we're doing with that. Of course, Iran is a little bit of a downer, but I think the fact that we're getting closer, and as Tim said, and I think we all agree that the sooner this gets over with, the better. That we can really start to see. I guess if I had a subject to talk about is once this is over, in the next 2 to 3 months, we should really start to see the fruits of everything that he's done to get our economy up and running. If we can get past this stuff where people are griping over the gas prices, and I think that's it. Maybe if you had something else to talk about, I'm amazed. Even where the gas prices are now, they're still cheaper than they were under the 4 years of Biden.
That's true.
So
They're
where were all these
slowly-
people 4 years ago? I don't understand it.
They're slowly coming down here in our area. Slowly coming down.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying during that 4-year period that Biden didn't have anything to do with
Nothing to
the
do
price
with
of
it.
gas.
No. Mm-mm.
But Trump, now it's his fault.
Well, I think they even blamed it on the previous 4 years of Trump, didn't they? I think they blamed
that
it on
too.
Trump then.
Yes, they
so.
did.
Anyway, that's it, Dale. I left room for you tonight.
Okay. All right.
I
Well-
do have one statement that I would like to share with you guys. I read this and I thought, how true is this today? And it said, it's from Matt Walsh. In a high trust society, there's a general expectation that people tell the truth and everything is transparent. But in the society that we have now, the opposite is true. You can't get a straight answer on anything, and very little of what you see, whether online or in the real world, is authentic.
Amen
Well,
to that.
Cheryl, I'll follow that up with what our good Lord said is that in times that we are seeing now, good will be called evil and evil will be called good.
That's right.
Well said.
Yeah.
That's it.
So many times we see examples of that. Anyway, obviously the Iran situation is certainly day in and day out always gets my attention on what is happening next in Iran. But this birthright citizenship issue caught my attention here this past week, and especially the president going to the Supreme Court. I was amazed that was the first time in history a president has addressed the Supreme Court. I find that hard to believe, but that was the report I heard.
He didn't address them, Dale. He just went there and sat through the question.
Didn't he speak? Didn't he?
I don't think
Afterwards.
he spoke.
Afterwards, he made a statement. Afterwards,
Afterwards.
he made a statement afterwards. Yeah.
I thought he spoke during the oral arguments or something.
Mhm.
I
But
think he was
anyway.
just there to listen.
Okay. But his presence, I guess, was a first.
Yes.
And I think this is an important issue, and it is being abused. And it's all Cheryl. It's all part of these various plans out there to take over our country. This is all part of it, and the Democrats apparently are all in favor of it. So I don't know if the Supreme Court will reverse it or change it or anything. I guess my sense is they're probably not going to change it, which leads me to believe again this is another instance, another example of why we need a convention of states.
Well, they don't have the authority to change anything. They have the authority to interpret the law, and that's it. And that's
right.
not what they're doing. They are not looking at original intent of what the founding fathers intended for that to say and what the purpose of it was. Instead, they are trying to really change the language to fit what they think is right, even though it's probably not right. Well, I don't think it's right.
Well, that's yeah. That's why Article 5 was there.
That's right.
To change it, to make changes as needed throughout our history, and we're just trying to use one of the methods to make those changes that's never been used before. So, but it's in there.
Yeah.
Mark Levin did a show on this last night. Let's see, what night is he on? Sunday night. Yeah, last night. Where he was reading statements that were written by the founders when they were debating this, and letters back and forth. He was reading the history of this, and it was really clear what they meant this for, not what it's been interpreted for. So it's too bad he didn't get to go there and argue for this, because he had a lot of ammunition for it.
Yeah.
Well, I think David Barton and Tim Barton would have a lot of ammunition as well. They have a lot of original documents. And it's a shame that we don't hear more from people like that instead of, these talking heads just saying whatever feels good to them.
Yeah, but it's probably going to come down to two justices, depending upon what side they come down on.
Yeah, you're right.
Very interesting.
Kind of scary.
Yeah.
Could you try to get them on the show, Dale, so they could talk about that? Get those liberal justices on the show one Monday.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've done some presentations on birthright citizenship, and I mean, and all of our presentations, it's the original intent of it was brought out, and what's the restrict or just what's the clause in that is the kicker here? Jurisdiction, something about
jurisdiction of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the original intent of it was strict, very, very clear. So, but that's we'll see how it turns out. Well, everyone, I want to thank you very much. Anybody got anything else they want to bring up or say in addition to what you've already said? Now,
good show.
Good.
All right. Well, Tim, Cheryl, Frank, thank you very much, and hope you'll come back again. Participate with us. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ken. Another good segment.
Yeah, a lot of interesting points being thrown around, and that's okay. That's what we put them out there for. Get people to stop and think of the bigger picture sometimes.
That's right. Well, we've been featuring the soapbox segment here recently, and John Ackerman has been taking advantage of this. He's been jumping on his soapbox about every week, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been looking for a new project, and I think he found it.
Yeah, John has been a contributor of ours for many years now, and he does just a great job. And he's done it again here, getting on his soapbox, talking about the Senate. So let's see what he's got to say this time around. Okay.
All right.
John Ackerman for Convention of States. I want to talk to you about the United States Senate. It's a hot mess. That means it's dysfunctional. The Senate Majority Leader will not allow it to go into recess, which would allow the President to do recess appointments. And so they have these silly little pro forma sessions where there might be 3 senators present, and they last about 25 seconds, and nothing gets done. Speaking as a person who enjoys freedom, I kind of like it when the Congress is deadlocked and they can't interfere with our lives. Someone said, no man's life, liberty, or property is safe whenever the legislature is in session. And that's kind of a joke, but there's some truth in every joke. That's what makes a joke funny. It has a little truth in it. So I kind of like it when the Senate isn't, and the House aren't, meddling in my life and disturbing my freedom. But the Senate is dysfunctional. And I think a large part of that dysfunction is the 17th Amendment. Now, it was passed and ratified in 1913, more than 100 years ago. But for most of the life of this republic, remember we are 250 years old, for most of those 250 years, state legislatures appointed their senators. And the genius of our framers was that the Senate was intended to represent the interests of the states. If a senator got out of line, the state could recall that senator and replace her or him with someone who would represent the state's interests. Since 1913, with the direct election of senators, the Senate is just a smaller version of the House, elected by the people. And so they have become much more politicians than was intended. And so I, for one, call for a repeal of the 17th Amendment. I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know if that fits into one of the three pillars of amendments that Convention of States stands for, but as a long-time member and activist in Convention of States, I would certainly approve and lobby for and work for the repeal of the 17th Amendment and return the Senate to representing the interests of the states.
Yeah, Dale, I'm going to go ahead and throw a comment we had based on that last segment by John. And David Nally says, we don't need a standing Congress. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we don't need a standing Congress. I don't know. What does he mean by that, do you think?
Well, David, give me a follow-up comment on it. Let me actually let you just, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You tell me what you mean by we don't need a standing Congress. It'd be interesting to say. Go ahead and post that in the chat and we'll bring that back up for you.
But Ken, I made a note to myself here. It's been a long time since we've discussed about the 17th Amendment on our program, and I think it's time that we talk about that some more, because I think it is. I think it is very important that we consider that now, and I can recall back when we did talk about that. I think some of the conditions that led up to the 17th Amendment, there was apparently a lot of corruption involved, a lot of payoffs, and senators were being bribed, and a lot of corruption was involved in the senators and how they were appointed and so forth, and that's what led to the 17th Amendment, and so
if that's the case, Dale, it hasn't worked in my opinion.
The same thing's happening, isn't it?
I think, and maybe to a greater intensity that I think we all get frustrated now and again with the stuck gears. And I know that we've talked about this in other areas over the years, where nothing is supposed to be easy. I know it's supposed to be processes are supposed to be hard and take time, but my own opinion and feeling is things have been so stuck, and the gears are just. I mean, to me, I think there's the teeth are broken on the gears, and we're not getting anywhere. It's always a fight between the two parties, and it comes down to the fact that you're wondering, what lobbyist is paying who and who's getting most of the money, and it seems as soon as they get elected, all they're doing is running for re-election. I mean, why don't you stop and do something first that would warrant re-election? That's I'd like to see that. Just show me some proof that you're actually working and doing something.
Yeah. I think it's a good topic. I think we need to bring it up again.
Yeah,
talk about it. So, okay. Well, here recently, actually, it's been a couple weeks ago, I guess, that I got with Larry Hudson, who's doing our Meet the Founders series, and he's been introducing us to Sam Adams, and once again, a very interesting guy. The Tea Party, involved in the actual the original Tea Party, a lot of other things. He was quite an activist in his time. So anyway, we got another installment of Sam Adams from Larry Hudson. So let me go ahead and play that, and then we'll come back and continue on, Ken.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host, COS Today. Well, folks, we're back again with Larry Hudson on Meet the Founders. We're talking about Sam Adams, and this is part 3 of Sam Adams. So without further ado, let's get right to it, and let's bring Larry on and get started. So, hi, Larry.
Hey, how you going, Dale?
Good, good. Well, Larry, we're getting ready now for part 3 of Sam Adams. Now, we left off last time. The Boston Tea Party had taken place, and of course it wasn't well received back in England. Obviously,
No.
the Parliament set in place the coercive acts, which the colonists called the Intolerable Acts. And reconciliation has become almost impossible, with war all the more inevitable. So where do you want to start from this point then?
Well, you're right. I think we're talking 1773 for the Boston Tea Party.
Right.
December, if my memory serves. First Continental Congress convened the very next year, actually, in late that year. I think it was September. So Hutchinson, if you remember, he was the governor there in Massachusetts, and he's been relieved, recalled him to England, and his successor is not a politician this time. The Brits are getting a little more. They're getting a little more serious, I guess you could say. They sent in a professional military officer, a general, in fact. Thomas Gage, I think, was his first name. Gage was, of course, his last name. He becomes the governor, and he's ready to use military force to get things under control. Boston is a city in the colonies that is probably leading this vitriol against the crown, and their port's been closed, if you remember, to all imports, which includes obviously foodstuffs, and it's now winter, and so people are finding it kind of hard to even feed themselves. And King George and the Parliament have, let's see if I can find a quote here. They have signed an edict that said, quote, Sam Adams and the other principal incendiaries should be brought to England, tried, and if found guilty, put to death. So Gage is now on the scene, and those are basically his marching orders. And Adams is now a leading voice, and he's recommending that the Massachusetts House of Representatives, where he is right now, that they call a meeting of all the 13 colonies to determine what kind of measures they should adopt following the recent course of events. They're trying to get the other colonies to come alongside. They're the ones that are being oppressed right now. And he and his cousin John, who we've talked about, John Adams, who we're going to talk about next, and 3 others actually are chosen to represent Massachusetts in what will soon become the First Continental Congress.
Okay.
And so that Congress is going to be called together. And now Adams, I think he finds himself somewhere. Yeah, he's 51 years old, so he's no youngster, and he's going to strike out for Philadelphia and go to the big house, if you will, and where that Congress, the First Continental Congress, is going to meet. It's a 300-mile journey from Boston to Philadelphia.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. And we don't think about it, we don't think about 300 miles. That's not very far, but in 300 miles in 1775 was a 10-day trip by horse or buggy. and you stayed a lot of different places along the way. It was an undertaking.
Yeah, I can imagine. So he's off to Philadelphia in the Continental Congress. So what does he do there that has any impact on Massachusetts or the colonies for that matter? What does he do there?
Well, this Congress is kind of short-lived. It's only 2 months long, but Adams, as you might suspect, quickly becomes the leader of the radical faction within that Congress, and he and John Hancock, John Adams and John Hancock, both Johns, they're opposing any reconciliation, I guess would be the word I'm looking for, with the mother country. They want radical separation. And in the very first month of the Congress, Adams requests his old friend back in Boston, Dr. Warren, Joseph Warren, who we've talked about previously, a compatriot, a co-leader in the Boston Sons of Liberty. He asked him to draft up some resolves which he can present to the Continental Congress. And Warren does this. They're called the Suffolk Resolves. And they were pretty bold. Let me read what they actually recommended, or what they advocated. 1, disobedience to the British Port Act in Boston. 2, they demanded resignations of all British appointees in all of the colonies. 3, they demanded a complete boycott of all British imports. 4, refused payment of all taxes. 5, supported a colonial government in Massachusetts as opposed to the provincial government that Gage had put in place. And last, they urged every colony to raise militias for their own defense. So,
I can't imagine why England would be opposed to that.
Yeah, pretty strong stuff.
That was pretty strong stuff, wasn't it? Yeah.
And Revere, Paul Revere, another member of the Boston Sons of Liberty, and a cohort, of course, with Adams and Warren. He delivers that to the Continental Congress, where Adams is kind of waiting on it. And of course, he introduces it to the Assembly. They unanimously endorse it and promulgate it throughout the colonies in newspapers, periodicals, and it stirred the people up. And it urged other colonies to join with Massachusetts in rebelling the British. So these resolves really laid the groundwork for the coordinated action that's going to come to pass against British rule.
Yeah.
One historian I read said that, quote, the Suffolk Resolves played a pivotal role in galvanizing colonial support for the revolutionary cause and are considered a most significant milestone in American history.
All right. Well, just a little tidbit here. You mentioned Paul Revere being instrumental in all this as well. I remember, of course, we all remember Paul Revere for making the midnight ride, correct? Right?
Right.
But this wasn't the ride, was it?
No, this one wasn't. No. Revere actually is a spy, along with being a silversmith. And he and Warren run a spy ring there in Boston, and they learn that Gage plans to confiscate some munitions, gunpowder, I think, musket balls, maybe some cannon that they feel are hidden or located in a hidden farm in the towns of Lexington or, more importantly, Concord. And in addition, they've also learned from I guess you would call him a double agent at that time, that Adams, who has now returned home from this short 2-month Continental Congress stint, he and his fellow compatriot, who I think was elected president of that Congress, John Hancock, they're now they're hiding, because I mentioned that they want to take them back to England and put them on trial, hang them, and
right.
So they're hiding out, and both are on the run. engage is looking to capture them. And so this ride is to warn Adams and Hancock. He sends Revere and a man named Dawes to ride to Lexington and warn those two to leave, that the Brits are coming. They've got a twofold purpose, primarily to capture this hidden store of ammunition, but also to pick up Hancock and Adams. And so he warns them to flee, and then he's able to ride on to towns along the route to Lexington that the regulars are coming, if you will.
So this was the ride that lighted by lantern in a church steeple, and one if by land, two if by sea. This whole ride was to warn Hancock and Adams, right?
It was a dual purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
To warn them as well as everybody else, I guess, huh?
Yeah. The Brits are coming, or the regulars are coming. They're coming for Adams and Hancock, and then they're going to go on to Lexington and Concord and unearth or uncover these hidden stores of ammunition.
Okay.
So yeah, it is. You remember what signal Revere was to tell how the British were coming?
If it was a lighted lantern, one if by land and two if by sea, is that what you're? Yeah.
One lantern or two in a church steeple. I think it was called the North Church Steeple. That would indicate which route the British were taking to get to Lexington. And one indicated that the advance would be by land through, I think, what then was called, and maybe today yet also, the Boston Neck. And two signaled that they were coming by way of water across the Charles River. So do you remember how many lanterns were used to make that signal?
Well, I think if history and your notes are correct, it was two, right? Two lanterns. Yeah. Two lanterns indicating by sea. What's this about a river? I don't remember anything about a river. You said the Charles River. Is that what you mentioned that? I don't.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I found this also kind of fascinating. You're remembering what turned out to be words from Longfellow's poem, which was written about 100 years after Revere's ride.
Oh yeah.
And he used the word sea in there to rhyme with the word me in his poem. But the two lanterns actually meant that the British were coming across the Charles River, which turns out was the shortest route to Lexington.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
Anyway, he rides on to Concord to warn them, but he's captured. Revere is captured by the British. He's returned to Lexington, interrogated, and released. So actually, his ride is cut a bit short.
Yeah, it's cut short. Okay.
British are coming.
So Lexington is where the first real combat between the two forces is going to take place. First at Lexington and then at Concord, right?
Yeah. Now we're talking, it's April. It happens to be April 17th. I happen to remember that because that's my birth date as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not 1775, but 17 April. Anyways, early morning, and approximately, I think, about 150 British troops or regulars under the command of a gent named Pitcairn, a Major John Pitcairn. They march onto the Lexington Green. That was an open area like a soccer field where they held various outings, people of the village. And the Patriots, on the other hand, they were about 77 in number. They're under the command of a captain. His name was Parker, and they formed up to basically block or confront the regulars. To stop them in their tracks was the idea. Parker's primary mission was just to show defiance, if you will. He wasn't to engage with the British. And Pitcairn is reported, let me find it here, to have shouted, "Lay down your arms, you damn rebels, and disperse." And good old Parker is said to have retorted, "Stand your ground," this to his troops, "stand your ground, don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here." And within a few seconds or minutes, a shot rings out, as we all know, as the shot heard round the world. And it's a very brief clash, resulted in, I think it was 8 Patriot deaths and 10 wounded. And the British, they suffered just a single soldier slightly wounded.
Really?
Now, and interestingly, just this week, I don't think I have this in your notes. It included a number of wounded, included in that number of wounded, let me find it here, was a black militiaman named Prince Estabrook. He'd been shot in the left shoulder, was taken to his owner's home, I guess, with several others. He was treated there by a doctor. He survives. The Brits go on to, they're not going to stop. They're going on to Concord, and we'll pick it up there in a little bit. But just interestingly, on Estabrook, Estabrook was a slave. Okay, he was owned by a farmer, if I recall, by the same name. That is, Prince Estabrook took the farmer's name, Estabrook, and he joined the Lexington militia, and he was by law prohibited from any formal training, but he was required to turn out, as this article termed it. And during the confrontation, of course, he struck, wounded by a musket ball, making him one of the first black soldiers to be wounded in the American Revolution.
Really?
He gains his freedom following the war, and I guess he remained with the Estabrook family until he passed away, and he was a paid farmhand. And it reminded me, you remember the name Crispus Attucks? Do you remember that name from history?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, well, we've got a school down here in Indianapolis called Crispus Attucks.
Oh.
And what that refers to, Crispus Attucks was also black. He was a freed slave, but he was killed in the Boston Massacre. Now, that's back, 1770. So that's 5 years earlier. But he was killed, one of, I think, 5 that died in that, making him, he was basically galvanized or martyred would be a better word, considered the first to fall. I don't know how they figured that part out, but he also was involved, a black, not a soldier, a civilian, but a black individual, too, right off the bat there, early on in the American Revolution.
Okay, well now there's a little point here that we need to delve into here with regard to this skirmish, this first skirmish, and that is the first shot heard around the world. You've discovered here that it's really not clear who actually fired that first shot, right? We've always assumed it was British, but is that true? Can you tell us who in fact fired that first shot?
Yeah, well, the only thing that I found, I mean, I think everybody pretty much realizes that no one even up to this day knows concretely who fired that shot. There are numerous accounts and theories, as to who fired it. It boils down, there's 3 possibilities: the Brits, the Patriots, or somebody not in either group, but outside on the periphery of the Lexington Green, maybe in a tavern. I think there was a tavern that was fairly close by.
You would think that could have been determined.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have thought so too. The one thing that I found interesting, and I didn't find it until late, I've not read this in any of our history books. This was an author, and I tend to agree. I believe it was the British. Supposedly, Pitcairn, the Brit, he maintained publicly right up to his death. Let's see, I got a quote here again, that he never ordered his men to fire. He evidently either said this in some testimony or wrote it down. He never ordered his men to fire, but that one of his soldiers fired without orders, possibly because of a misfire flash from a fellow soldier's musket, or possibly a shot from a hidden rebel. So again, he kind of hedges a little bit as well. But to me, when you think about it, the fatalities, there were 8 deaths and I think 10 wounded on the American side, and just 1 regular wounded, no deaths on the British side. So to me, that indicates they fired first. This scattered the Patriots, lessened their ability to return accurate fire. And so that's how it happened. Both sides, of course, quick to claim that the other side fired first, like you say. And interestingly, I think maybe I have this in my notes, the famous phrase, "the shot heard round the world," much like the Longfellow quote, it wasn't coined until I think it was the early 1800s, well after this event. And it was used in a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson entitled Concord Hymn, as I recall. And he was writing about the battle at the North Bridge at Concord, not Lexington. So the phrase that he uses is actually in the very first stanza of his poem. You might remember some of the poem. He said to his friend, "If the British march by land or sea from the Tower tonight," oh, I'm sorry. I want to read, that's the previous quote. I want to read, let me find it here. Emerson. Okay, here. "By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmer stood and fired the shot heard round the world." So he's talking about the fight at Concord, not the fight at Lexington.
Okay. Well, Larry, we're out of time here. So let's pick this up then. We're moving on now on to Concord, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I would like to, simply because we're all familiar with Lexington. It was a skirmish. It really wasn't a battle. But Concord, it was a big deal. And yet I don't remember ever really reading about what happened at Concord, what the results were or anything. So I just kind of wanted to cover that just so people know.
So
maybe I'm alone in this, but I don't remember reading anything about Concord.
Okay, well then let's pick it up next time at Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you're right. According to your notes, there were hundreds involved at Concord. So
yeah, the Patriot cause swells.
Yeah,
people start coming from everywhere.
Okay, so let's pick it up there at the next part number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I got sidetracked. Down a couple rabbit trails. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. All the rabbit trails are very interesting, Larry. So don't eliminate those. Okay. All right, Larry. Thank you very much, bud. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye. All right, folks. That wraps us up for part 3 on Sam Adams, and we'll get Larry back very shortly and do part 4 here. Onward to Concord. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Interesting. Well, Dale, I'm going to take you down a little bit, another rabbit hole that I'm not sure. And by the way, Larry's looking really good for coming up on 251 years old. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to take you down a little rabbit hole. Are you are you much of a beer drinker? Do you drink any beer?
No, I don't. No, I
You
really
don't. All right.
No.
Well, Sam Adams happens to be the flagship brand of the Boston Beer Company.
Yeah.
It is named after the U.S. founding father, Sam Adams, who inherited his father's brewery on Boston's King Street, which is now modern-day State Street. And he worked as a brewer, or what they called them back then as a maltster. I'm wondering if Larry's going to bring that up at all. But our friend Sam Adams was a maltster. He actually worked in his father's brewery and inherited it.
Were you researching this while
Well, you know, I'm not. I wouldn't call myself a regular beer drinker. I might have a cold one now and again, but I happen to like the Sam Adams lager that they put out, or beer that they put out. Yeah, it's actually still done as a the what am I looking for, the recipe was continued on at this point. But I always laughed, when you said, well, we're going to do something on Sam Adams. I thought, well, we're all going to sit around and drink beer. It turns out that the founding father it was his father's brewery. And it was named after our founder, Sam Adams.
Make sure Larry,
I have to address Larry with that and ask him what he knows about that. How much, what kind of time Sam spent in the brewery, but that does be kind of interesting. And I do want to go ahead and post a couple of follow-ups from our friend David Nally, who goes back to our previous segment.
He would be submitting some follow-ups. Yes.
Yeah, his comment about a standing Congress, he followed that up with a couple of things here. So he says the state legislature, they have a couple of months a year in session, and then they get out of the Capitol. Many then go to work. The longer they are in session, the more time for criminals to influence, and they are rarely under time restraints. So they play politics for months.
Oh.
And then he followed that up with also, once we return power to the states, there shouldn't be much need for anything but budget meetings, is what David is saying, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I had to follow that up to let David clarify what he meant by a standing Congress.
All right. Good deal.
Thanks, David.
Well, listen, we've got another segment here that we want to present on the Monroe Doctrine. And I think if I asked you before, if you know what the Monroe Doctrine is, and you said you didn't know. So
I have a funny feeling it's certainly, it's all about Trump. So.
You might be right. But let's before we get to that, let's go ahead and listen to our weekly submission from David Punt up in Minnesota on Dave's Daily Dose. Yeah, so let's take a listen to that one, and then we'll get to the Monroe Doctrine.
All right.
In a story that broke more than a week ago, Congress demonstrated again that it will not willingly fix the problem of spending more money than we hand over to them. Staring down at a $39 trillion debt, Representative Andy Biggs introduced a constitutional amendment that would disallow deficit spending imaginary money, and lead to a balanced federal budget. To be considered a constitutional amendment, it would need two-thirds support from both House and Senate and approval from 3/4 of the states, 38. It failed a simple majority in the House, 211 to 207. This is Dave's Daily Dose on BrokenRoadRadio.com. I'm David Allen Punt. This is close to the 11,000th time that Congress has tried to amend the Constitution for various reasons. 27 amendments have been approved since the nation was founded. All of the attempts have been made by Congress, members of the House and Senate. None have been made by the other identified method, authorized in the U.S. Constitution, and Article 5 Convention of States to propose amendments to this Constitution. That's how Article 5 is written, word for word. not to redo the Constitution, not to rework it, not to upset the apple cart of the Constitution and make a brand new one with or without your favorite rules and regulations. Propose amendments to this Constitution to make this one stronger. Deal with what Congress and the bureaucracy and the courts have done to the original and restore the balance between federal and state governments. One of the basic ideas from the founders was to create a nation with a government of which we, the people, maintained control, representation close to our vest, within arm's reach. As we close in on our 250th year anniversary, we're still in control, but barely. Our next step is to convince 34 state legislatures we must have delegates to an Article 5 convention of states to propose the amendments to this Constitution. We're at 20, and the debt continues to grow. It's up to us to take the next step and pass this resolution, because Congress won't fix it. I'm David Allen Punt.
Well, there's never been a truer statement than that. Congress won't fix it. Yeah,
that's the truth. That's the truth. Well, I caught up with Brett Sterley here recently and recorded his presentation on the Monroe Doctrine. And I didn't know. I remember the term Monroe Doctrine, but I really didn't know much about it. So Brett has will provide us some educational information here, but he'll also introduce the Monroe Doctrine, and I think that's very, very interesting. So wait for it when he gets to the Monroe Doctrine, because it really does make sense, and this really does tie in to the Iran situation. So, all right. So let's go listen to Brett here. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host COS Today. We have a special report today by one of our frequent contributors, Mr. Brett Sterley, the COS State Director for the state of Missouri. And Brett is going to talk to us about the Monroe Doctrine. So without further ado, let's bring Brett on here. Hi, Brett.
Hello, Dale. How are you?
Good. Brett, I when you first told me that you wanted to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, I thought, number one, I've heard of it. I recognize the name of it, but I really didn't know anything about it. And evidently, while you start focusing on the Western Hemisphere, it expands beyond that. So I think I'm going to learn quite a bit here. So,
well, I hope so. That's kind of the point.
we'll let you get started, Brett. The Monroe Doctrine. Take it away.
Thank you, Dale. I appreciate it. I definitely learned a lot, going through this here as well, because it's prompted with the war in Iran and with U.S. intervention in capturing Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, and some of the other discussions about, Canada becoming the 51st state, or with the United States, maybe acquiring Greenland somehow from Denmark. There's been a lot of discussion about exactly what President Trump's foreign policy is. And so I thought, this might be a good opportunity to just go back and say, take a look and see how U.S. foreign policy has changed over time. And it really goes back to the Monroe Doctrine. And that is a policy. It was been the cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy ever since 1823, whenever President James Monroe spoke about it when he delivered his message to Congress in December 1823. And what that did is, you think about back in 1823, we had were coming out of the Revolutionary War, where we had the separation from America from England. Then we had the War of 1812, and there was a need to kind of further define, America's role globally. And so what President James Monroe said is that he declared that the Americas would no longer, the Americas being North America and South America and Latin America, Western Hemisphere, would no longer accept further European colonization or political interference, while the United States also agreed not to interfere in European affairs. So this was just a protective measure to protect security and trade in the Western Hemisphere.
But now this was focused on European
expansion, correct?
Expansion, right? Okay.
And so what kind of prompted all this is in the early 1820s, there was a fear of European recolonization of Latin America, because there were several Latin American countries that recently gained independence through wars against, primarily Spain, but also France as well. And the United States worried that the European nations might try to recolonize those Latin American countries. You also had some threats from Russia. Russia tried to, in 1821, actually issued a statement claiming territory along the northwest coast of North America, basically from Alaska south down to Oregon, and made a commitment to restrict foreign shipping in the area. So that was a danger on our western flank.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever this was being discussed, Great Britain approached America and said, "Hey, why don't we make a joint statement here? Because that'll be, in their view, that would be a little bit stronger." Actually, it was only going to be stronger for England. And this was something that James Monroe was originally interested in, is making a joint statement, but his Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, had talked him out of it. And Adams was concerned that a joint statement might show America's subordination to England again. And so there was James Monroe came out with a unilateral statement of American dominance in the Western Hemisphere.
Okay.
But it was kind of getting over his skis just a little bit, because really at that point in time, the United States lacked the military power to really enforce the doctrine independently. So oddly enough, the United States originally relied on the British Royal Navy to help enforce the doctrine, but they also had that condition in the Monroe Doctrine that the United States would not interfere in British foreign affairs any longer either. So that was kind of the carrot that made England amenable to help the United States. And as gradually as our military strengthened, the United States became independently enforced it, and it became a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy that exists until today.
Okay. So that's how the Monroe Doctrine got started. That's
the basis of the Monroe Doctrine, and kind of the genesis of United States foreign policy.
Okay.
Now, this was modified in 1904 by what's called the Roosevelt Corollary, and this is from President Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
And this was really the beginning of an interventionist type policy, to where the United States would take preemptive action in other countries' affairs. And so Roosevelt declared that the United States would be an international police power in the Western Hemisphere. And this is kind of the broad language that Roosevelt said, and this comes from his statement to Congress. Roosevelt said, "Chronic wrongdoing or an impotence which results in a general loosening of the ties of civilized society may, in America as elsewhere, ultimately require the intervention by some civilized nation. And in the Western Hemisphere, the adherence of the United States to the Monroe Doctrine may force the United States, however reluctantly, in flagrant cases of such wrongdoing or impotence, to exercise of an international police power." and so this was a major departure where the Monroe Doctrine was largely defensive. This was definitely an offensive expansion of the Monroe Doctrine. And so, mainly it wanted to prevent European intervention through, debt collection in the Western Hemisphere, wanted to promote regional stability and protect U.S. interests, kind of maybe the first America First type policies that the United States had. And it really framed the United States as being a stabilizing force and a civilized power, in kind of that whole premise moves forward here to today, which we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. In some of the outcomes of this is that the United States actually went into the Dominican Republic went into receivership, and from customs duties, unpaid customs duties, and so that was something that was to the United States. So the United States, took some measure of control from the Dominican Republic in 1905. There's also interventions in Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, and other Caribbean nations.
Was it the Rough Riders that came about?
I think the Rough Riders. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. Perhaps that's another COS Live.
Oh, I thought maybe wasn't that Theodore Roosevelt that was.
It is Theodore Roosevelt, but I think that that was in his service in the military prior to because that was the U.S. Cavalry. Back
I guess
in
you're right. I guess that was prior to his presidency.
I think that was prior to his presidency. Yes.
I'm sorry, I digress.
No, you're fine. No, not at all. I mean, there could be some correlation there, but really the Roosevelt corollary kind of updated the Monroe Doctrine for a more assertive United States and prioritized stability in the Western Hemisphere under United States leadership. Okay. So it was. That was definitely a big expansion.
Okay.
Now, the next iteration is called the Good Neighbor Policy, oddly enough, and that was introduced by Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1933. And that was aimed at basically trying to have the United States be a little bit more friendly and just not threaten Latin American nations and Central and South America nations by threat of intervention, but just saying, hey, you know what, we're kind of like Big Brother. Let's all be pals, let's all be friends and sing Kumbaya around the flagpole. And that was something that Roosevelt said, and this was from his address, his inaugural address in 1933. He said, in the field of world policy, I would dedicate this nation to the policy of the good neighbor. The neighbor who resolutely respects himself and, because he does, respects the rights of others. So that's kind of a pullback from this interventionist policy from the Roosevelt corollary. And so what the policy emphasized was that the United States would no longer use military force or interfere in the internal affairs of Latin American nations. Would also treat Latin American countries as equals rather than subordinates. And it would try to foster good trade a freer trade through goodwill rather than the threat of military force. And so, that's, some of the things that, the U.S. withdrew from Haiti in 1934. There was there was an amendment called the Platt Amendment that allowed U.S. intervention in Cuba that was repealed in 1934, and in 1938, when Mexico nationalized all their foreign oil assets, the U.S. negotiated compensation for those foreign countries rather than intervening militarily as it would have under the Roosevelt corollary. So that basically lasted through the Roosevelt years and into the Truman years towards the end of World War II, and it seemed to breed some goodwill and some stability in the Western hemisphere. And so now that kind of brings us to how President Trump has expanded or modified U.S. foreign policy. And there was I think the New York Times actually dubbed this the Donroe Doctrine, in a modification, kind of morphing Monroe into Donald Trump's name.
Okay.
And the kind of the background, the reasoning for this is all tied together to the expansionist efforts of China, and the Chinese attempting to gain global dominance. And so the Chinese have, in the last 10 to 15 years, really expanded on what they call the Belt and Road Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what that is Chinese effort. And just remember, this is a communist nation. It's the Chinese Communist Party, that they will approach nations that they have done this, like in Africa mainly, maybe impoverished nations that are lacking economic opportunity and advantages, and they will approach these key countries mainly on the coasts, and they will offer them some type of economic cooperation and some economic incentives in order to have access to that country's deep water ports. And those deep water ports are both for increased shipping, but they can also be used for military efforts as well. There are the Chinese have expanded and partnered. I believe it's in the Sudan, and that is where they use basically child slave labor to mine rare earth minerals that are used in the solar industry, manufacture of solar panels, and some of those other alternative energy sources. But that is part of this Belt and Road Initiative, to where whenever there's a solar panel that's installed in the United States, the bulk of the raw materials, overwhelmingly, like 80 to 90% of the raw materials that are used in those solar panels and solar arrays, come from China, or from Chinese interests. They're mined in Africa, again, with slave labor, and in very, very physically demanding and dangerous conditions. It's not any surprise or any shock at all to have several people die mining these rare earth minerals for China on a weekly basis. And so, President Trump has done is that he has expanded the United States' role in trying to capture and control more of the global energy supply. I think that's one of the reasons why we went into Venezuela. One is Maduro was not, in contrary to popular opinion, Nicolas Maduro was not the president of Venezuela. He was defeated. He was defeated by another, and the name escapes me off the top of my head.
The lady, I can't think of her name either.
Yeah, but he was defeated, but he refused to leave because and he had the support of the military, so that was kind of kept him in office. And so he was a narco-terrorist, and he had been indicted in the United States, and so we went and got him. He was a private citizen in our view and electorally, and so we went there and got him. And now we have some trade agreements and some it looks like some agreements with Venezuela. That's a very, very energy rich country, massive oil supplies, but that was something that was not being shared with the Venezuelan people. So there are some economic incentives there for the Venezuelan people to partner with the United States. Now, it doesn't hurt either that we have demonstrated that within an 18 hours notice, we can basically launch stealth bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base here in Missouri and reach anywhere on the globe and bomb anything in the globe that we choose to target, within an 18 hours notice.
Yeah.
So that's, there's some incentive there, but I think that's what we're looking at in Iran. Obviously there are some interest there that in trying to, maintain the free flow of oil at market prices, which the Iranian regime, of course, has been on a 47-year war with the United States. They are a destabilizing force in the whole entire Middle East, and obviously with the with a large number of their military and political leadership taken out within a 48-hour period, obviously our intelligence was very, very good, and that we had the opportunity, we had the assets in the area, and so I think that's why we chose to strike.
Right.
So he has, so this is kind of the Donroe Doctrine is basically, as I said before, it was coined by the New York Post actually in last year in 2025, and it kind of centered around, okay, Donald Trump saying, hey, Canada needs to be the 51st state. Greenland is our land. And then also the interventions into Venezuela and Iran. So basically what the tenets of this appear to be, at least anyway, is that that Trump's version of the doctrine seeks to restore and enforce America's preeminence, their dominance in our dominance in the entire Western Hemisphere, and it counters, China, Russia, Iran, their expansionist economic and military activities and political influence in Latin America and the Caribbean, and that views that as a direct threat to United States security. There are, it's been in the news and rumors that maybe Cuba is next.
Yeah.
And in United States intervention there. So
need to wrap it up down here.
Okay, I will do that. I'm almost done here. So basically, it's an America First type expansion that defends United States interests. Some of its key elements are, military dominance, and symbolic moves like renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, taking over or having Panama recontrol the Panama Canal rather than in 2025 at the beginning of his second term, Chinese companies had control of the of both ends of the Panama Canal, and that's a major shipping channel for us and also for our military.
Right.
And obviously the tariff policies kind of bleed into this here as well, and trying to use the carrot and stick method to try to get more global cooperation. And so that's kind of where this kind of stands right now. And I think again it's all to push back on Chinese expansion, to deter China from trying to go into Taiwan, and also expand into other.
Brett, I think we're going to delve into the Chinese influence here as we go on. I mean, it is really massive and intertwined in our society, much more than we realize. Quite honestly.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. They're pushing the new currency to try to remove the United States dollar as a reserve currency. And if that happens, that has massive destabilization for us economically.
Have you ever heard of this unrestricted warfare doctrine?
I've not.
Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. It's basically the plan to take over this country without a military war, and I think there a lot of areas where it seems like they're making progress, but this appears to be the Donroe Doctrine appears to be a good effort at countering that. So.
Yeah, I think that's right. You look at all the debt that China holds. I mean, that's dangerous. And then the Islamic influence that we're just allowing into our country, just like what England and France and Spain have. I mean, those are basically captured countries now, and that's a big threat to United States independence for sure.
All right, Brett, we got to wrap it up there. I knew I would learn something from this. This has been very, very interesting.
It's interesting going into all these topics. I just learned a ton as well, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Monroe Doctrine to the Donroe Doctrine. I like that. I like that progression. So, yeah. Brett, thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you, Dale. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Brett. Well, folks, I hope you've learned something there. I certainly did. I think this is very interesting, and like I said, I think here on COS today we're gonna delve more into the Chinese influence, how and the impact that just like Brett was talking about, the impact that the Venezuela, the Iran, all this going on, the impact that is going to have on the Chinese influence. So that's a topic for another day. So everyone, thank you for listening. Have a good evening. Good night, everyone. So, did you learn some things there, Ken?
Yeah. It's. I do remember some schooling way back in high school on the Monroe Doctrine, but it's been something I haven't revisited in a long time, and it came up obviously when Trump went into Venezuela. The term was used, and so yeah, it's interesting that they're kind of retitling it now to Donroe Doctrine, and at this point, you gotta give these people that just they don't know their history, and they don't know, a lot of them don't know anything about the Constitution. Obviously, that's what we're all about. But I'm pretty amazed sometimes at and it must be the people. Some of it has to be the people around Trump. He doesn't carry all this stuff in the back of his head. But I'm amazed at what the things that he does, even though sometimes it might be pushing a parameter in one way or the other. But he seems to use things that basically back up what he's doing. And
right.
I think all of it gets challenged anyway. We know it's going to get challenged, but and that's where we see the fight, with judges and courts and everything else. But for the most part, it's true. He's running on what he campaigned on, and that was to to protect the American people, keep America safe, and protect our interests.
Yeah. Well, I think in the process, he's going to change the world if he's successful.
Well, there's already. I mean, at this point, if things go right in Iran and we get a different structure in the Middle East, yeah, I mean, you can't argue against it. He's making great changes around the world at this point, and we'll see.
All right. A lot to go here, Ken. All right, let's start wrapping things up, Ken.
Yep.
Want to be sure to let everyone know that if you're searching for us, trying to find COS today, go to our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States, and I think you're going to post that link.
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. If you'll search on that or go to that YouTube channel, there you'll find our current broadcast, past broadcasts, so you can keep up to date with us. So that's the best way to find us. And if you have any questions or comments about our broadcast tonight, feel free to drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Well, Ken, before we let Maringo Mike close us out here, do we have any other comments or any questions that we need to address from our viewers?
No, let's see. I know David went ahead. David was very, very active tonight. He threw in a little comment about Teddy Roosevelt wanting to control the Panama Canal that he had built. So he threw that in there as far as what Teddy Roosevelt wanted to do involving some of those areas that we were just discussing. So interesting comment, and thanks, David, for your participation tonight. You're going to get the Gold Star Award.
Thank you, David. Thank you for. David's a regular viewer. We appreciate his
and contributor at this point.
Yeah, becoming more and more, isn't he?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ken, I think that's a wrap for tonight. And once again, your 200th broadcast with us. So been a good one. Folks, thank you again from both of us. Thank you for tuning in and following us. So I just might mention in March, we hit a new record as far as followers are concerned. Off the top of my head, it's about 24,000 followers that we have on record now for COS today. So we're very proud of that. And we want to thank everyone for being a follower. And you go to that, you want to hit that like button and follow us. So we'd love to have you, your adherence to our broadcast. So
tell your friends and neighbors.
There you go. All right.
Sure.
All right, Ken. Let's bring Maringo Mike on here and let's close us out for this evening. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Marengo Mike here with a reminder of the importance of this year as we continue to grow the grassroots army of volunteers and the mission of using the Constitution to fix the ills of our government. Use the QR code if you haven't signed the petition and consider using your talents to become an active volunteer. Thank you and God bless.